everybody. Episode 7, Agents of Aquarius, with the Army of Aquarius, and the other one I can't remember. I am Jim Pine, and my boy, fucking
Matty, coming back at the world.
yeah. Please like, subscribe, check us out on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and soon to be Rumble. We just come together. We're two bros that have known each other for lifetimes, and we just come together to talk about the world and the many dimensions and facets of the world. And here we are again today, talking our shit.
You bet. The world we live in, because we are from Earth, first and foremost.
Well, we're in Earth, or on Earth.
Yeah, I don't want to just be from America. No, if someone asks me where I'm from, it's usually an American asking for my region, what state are you from? But I just want to be from Earth.
New Jersey, baby.
It is Jersey. That's the home state. That's factual. Born
I
there,
always do.
raised there. That's great.
That's my answer usually. I'm from New Jersey. Because if I tell them that, then it helps solve a lot of other problems after that. If I just tell them I'm from Earth, then they're like, "Oh, what's this guy about?" And then it's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, he's from New Jersey." I'm just kidding.
Well, I
I
mean,
know
let's
what
be
you thought.
honest. When you say you're from Earth, you're basically saying stop. Just fucking don't. Just
Yeah,
stop.
like I can bring it.
No, always ready for, yeah, you're from Jersey. You're always like kind of poised for some kind of conflict. Hey, where you from? Earth, fuck off.
Yeah, fuck you. What the fuck? Why so many questions?
Why
What are you taking a
so
census?
many questions? Oh, it's sad but true. But credit where it's due. Something good about our home. There's a lot that you can rag on it about, but there is just sort of a there not sort of there just is a blunt honesty out there. And some people just take it too far because they can't wait to fucking call bullshit on someone when you could be a little more diplomatic. But when it's needed, when it's necessary, those folks from Jersey, they will just sort of tell you how it is at times.
Yeah, it's a good region. There's a lot of history there. There's a lot of older energy there. Going back to Indians and or native, whatever you want to say, the native inhabitants,
Yeah.
pre-colonial people, last tribe of something, probably it's where they came from. But yeah, it's a great place, especially where we're directly from. Both hailing from Long Beach Island, New Jersey, where we grew up on this mystically magical island that was just amazing. It doesn't seem that way as a child, but then you look back, you're like, oh my God, how lucky am I? You basically
Yeah.
got to grow up in a California lifestyle, almost implant like a California beach town lifestyle in New Jersey on this
Just with
very
a cold
private.
winter
Yeah,
and
yes, yeah.
not, and you don't have a city on top of you.
Yeah, and the vibe definitely wasn't as cool as California, but as far as Jersey goes, people would make fun of the kids from the island and call them, "Oh, that's an island boy," because we were chiller and everybody skated or surfed or something. We weren't all just hunters, and which on the mainland was then actually surrounded. So there's the island, and then there's this giant pine forest called the Pine Barrens that was extremely magical and mystical, and you could tell it's a place of high energy. You can just see that physically, but you can feel it also spiritually. It's just an amazing place, vast forest, very pristine, and that's where we're from, which most people are like, huh? And flat as fuck, just like, let's get that out of the way
Yeah,
also.
this is South Jersey.
Yeah,
This
the
is South Jersey.
highest hills where we're from were man-made with a bulldozer. They're called dunes. They weren't that high, dude, above sea level, maybe 25 feet, sometimes maybe 15, 20 feet.
Yeah,
uh
now keep something else in mind too. This is Long Beach Island in the 70s and 80s. Um, all of our peers' parents were carpenters, teachers, realtors, the occasional dentist, but you could be completely working class, completely middle class, and own property on that island and afford your mortgage, afford your taxes, raise your kids, send them to school. And it only wasn't until the middle 90s that beach properties started to go nuts and get really expensive, and we got priced out of our own.
yeah.
We got priced out of our home essentially. But when we were kids, you could be just a working person with a normal job and own property there. Whereas now you have to have a pretty significant income to own a property on Long Beach Island. You just can't do it like it was when we were young.
The atmosphere when we were growing up in the 70s and 80s, and even into the 90s, if you worked on Long Beach Island, if you owned a business on Long Beach Island, you lived on Long Beach Island. First of all, you were there, you lived there.
Yeah.
You probably lived above your shop or something like that, even, or you were there. And then the only people that really traveled on the island to work would be people that worked in stores, waiters, waitresses, bus, all that, and then carpenters, and that's about it. Everybody else like stayed to their zones. Like there's the island, there's the mainland, which has more stores and shopping, but it also was just redneck as fuck, you know.
Parts of it, yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah. You
mean,
get away from like that. You get a little away from the town centers and gets a little more redneck for sure.
bro, top NASCAR driver in the country comes from literally without traffic from our house. It's only to where he grew up. It's probably 7 or 8 miles. Like as a bird would fly, like it's literally right there. Like that's the Truax family's from right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Hey, thank you. Quick shout out to Martin Truex Jr., 2023 regular season champion, working his way through the playoffs.
didn't even know that.
Will he
Didn't even
repeat
know
a
that.
2017 championship?
I don't know.
Remains to be seen.
He's in the front right now.
He's second in the playoffs, but
Okay.
struggling
Uh-oh.
in the playoffs. But this shit turns on a dime. You get hot and you get hot.
He's a Jersey boy. He'll be fine. But
He'll
yeah,
be fine.
we come from a blue collar area. I don't know how we got started in all this conversation. We said where we're from. You're like, I like to say I'm from Earth. I'm like, I'm from New Jersey. And now we got into a description of where we're from. But
Well,
that's what
now we
makes us
know.
up. Yeah, we're both from very blue collar backgrounds and from a little place called Long Beach Island, New Jersey. Um, and that's part of what shapes us, makes us. Here I am. I'm in San Diego. You're in a bunker somewhere. Um,
Bunker in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. Hold up.
and when he says
Surrounded
middle,
by a million people.
he says that to be a distraction because he might be on one quarter or lower. Like he's not directly. If you look at the Rocky Mountains and you took out a ruler and you measure top to bottom, left to right, you pick that spot. He's not dumb enough to tell you that's not where the bunker is. Just so you know, like I want to save people a lot of energy. If anybody's like, "Oh, let me go. I want to meet Matt," and then they show up to like the most desolate place in the Rocky
You
Mountains
show up to the Rocky
ever.
Mountains, you might not find me.
They
Hey, but
nobody.
that's why this tapestry is here. I gotta protect my location.
He's on Earth, so just know that he's next to. This is what you can know about Matt. He has a hat on that's cool and really banging, and then he also has planets with rings around them and spaceships, and he might be in space right now, but we can't tell. He might be in another ship looking out a window behind him onto something that looks like a spaceship. We don't
No one
know.
said the bunker is not in space.
Hey, yeah, you could be above the Rocky Mountains. Okay, this is oh shit, man. This was just in the news. Like this isn't even break the news, but they're just talking about I think I sent you clips about the low Earth orbit where they're just like now they have dudes that are like weightless. They're supposed to be like in a capsule with like a dude and a chick, and they're just like reading something, and they say they're reading it, but it seems like they're like being suspended. They're like, oh, they're in a weightless environment, but their pants are all like weirdly crotched and pulled up in their crotches, like if you had some type of harness on. So I'm always looking down, like, why do you have such
Oh,
weird creases in your fucking crotch, man? And then they're supposed to be weightless, so they're like kind of moving like this a little bit. And he's talking about how like we might be able to make it out of low Earth orbit they're doing this, and it's just like what the fuck is going on? Like the moon is not even in low Earth orbit. And they
no,
say
it's
that
way
we've
out
never,
there.
yeah, but this is like people in weightlessness saying we've never been outside, but we think we're really close to getting outside low Earth orbit, right? That's
I saw that clip and I didn't watch it too carefully. I thought it was. All right, let me just say it. When I looked at the woman's haircut, I thought it was really old, like the 80s or 90s or something. But was
um,
that recent?
I sent you two. I sent you one where it's like a NASA person, not a NASA, but it's somebody like testifying, and they're talking about like, oh, we hope that we'll soon. Like it was the question from a lady, and then he's like, yeah, we hope we're gonna be able to get out of low Earth orbit soon. Um, even yeah, okay. First of all, it looks like it was within the last 3 years or 2 to 3 years to me. even
Hmm.
if it was from 1997, the moon's outside low Earth orbit. Like,
Right. We were supposed to have gone there in
so
1969.
yes, so that's what I'm bringing up. Like we haven't even got. They're telling us we've never gotten that far out. Like we
Well, this,
can't figure
this
it
guy
out.
is telling us. I guess a good
Two
question I
different
have is
ones.
why are these two people telling us we're close to getting outside of low Earth orbit when we should have been to the moon, which is way outside of low Earth orbit? That's just weird. That
Here's you're not gonna be able to fucking see it.
And then we'll be able to
that
launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to be to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond.
All right, do you see what I mean about that haircut? She looks like me when I grow my hair out.
Dude, they all look like gym teachers, female gym teachers. All the chicks that are astronauts all look like female gym teachers, dude. They're never hot. They're never Ginger from the fucking Love Boat. Or not Love, but Gilligan's Island. They're never that. They're always like, I think because it's like dealing with your hair in low Earth orbit's a problem. Maybe it gets
Oh yeah,
frizzy, you know.
maybe that's why that frizzy curly hair was a thing because she's in low Earth orbit and it's just
Yeah.
standing up.
I don't know. Is there a lot of humidity or no humidity?
All right, now that would be fun to see because all the astronauts I recall seeing tend to be like dudes, military dudes with short cropped hair. I'm trying to remember now, and I'm having a hard time thinking of it about women with long or longer, more than cropped hair in space. You think it'd be like being underwater and it would flow around you like Ariel's big dude, just a big seaweed mass of hair. Do you recall seeing women in space with longer hair? Or is it always? I mean, it would make sense that it'd be tied back. I just can't remember.
I literally just made the joke because yeah, there's chicks with like longer hair. They always have to have it in the back because
Okay.
like you're like in the back of a Jeep, you know, shit can go
Yeah.
everywhere. There's no wind blowing, but it's like apparently it could be going anywhere.
Yeah.
But
But
then
I'm
again,
one of those people that's
maybe it won't go anywhere, and that's why they don't I'm saying fucking keep that shit back.
yeah. Now I'll say this about the moon. I completely believe we went to the moon, but I also believe that we filmed a bunch of shit in Martin Scorsese's studio.
Do you think we went in 1969 when we said we went?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Like I said, I think we went. I did hear some sciencey thing saying how the Van Allen belts were at a lower intensity back at that particular period in time that you could get through without getting fried. I don't know if that's factual or not because that's not my avenue of study. But I believe that we went to the moon, yes, but I also believe that a lot of shit was faked too. Like maybe the rocket ship wasn't the actual vehicle that got us there. And that moon lander looks rickety as fuck. I can't actually attest to that being the actual lander. Um, um, I think we,
Who also shot the videos?
yeah, I just think we got there, but I think also a whole bunch, I would say the majority of the video that was given to us was that studio stuff. What was it? Am I getting that right? Was it Martin Scorsese? Who made
No, definitely not. It was
not Scorsese, it
the
was the
one that's
other
dead.
famous guy.
The guy that made Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut and The Shining and 2001. Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick. I
Everybody's
think a
yelling
lot
at
of
their
the
screens.
footage,
They're like Stanley Kubrick, and we're just like,
someone knew it before I did, but I think it's a mix of footage from Stanley Kubrick, and I think we actually went. But I just think that pet project, never been there. Still think there's some shit on that moon that has to do with space travel. Like I really think that there are structures on that moon that have been photographed. I think there's vehicles that have been photographed going to and from the moon. It was just yesterday I saw a photo of a pyramid on the moon with a link back to its original source. And that stuff is very convincing. I find it very convincing.
interesting. Well, most people believe we've been to the moon.
I guess I'm most people.
Yeah, I'm literally a person that needs. I'd rather just hold my judgment. I'll give in and say, oh yeah, I guess maybe we have been. I don't know. Like I really don't hold anything on it. I would probably if somebody was like, oh, you got to. you have to place money on it, on a bet, right? And then you get your money paid out accordingly.
Mhm.
I would probably bet, if you know what I would do, here's why I would do it. First of all, I would go with the odds because I bet there's good fucking odds on betting
Mhm.
that we have it. So I just go with like try to win more, like I always do in life, and just be like, you know what, dude, I want to take I want to take the underdog on this, dude. I want to take the moon and fucking 33 points, bro.
33 points.
And
Well, hey, you know what? Since we
you,
haven't been there, you and I haven't been there, it is
I don't
just a
know.
gamble. Like it's all kind of academic for us because you take the data that you have and you try to make an informed decision, and that's no different than making a bet.
Mhm.
You know, you want the over or the under.
The same group that tells me and then does an investigation of itself on itself and says that there was a magic bullet. You know, I have trouble like believing everything they say. So
Mhm.
I'm just holding off. You know, unless I had to bet, I would bet on that there isn't, just for the points and the odds, like good odds. You know, it's
Mhm.
gonna pay like 100 to pay 100 fucking thousand or something.
Well,
Uh,
bro, there's cool shit about the moon. I mean, there's long shots with the moon. The size of the moon compared to our planet, the way it was supposed to have got captured
mhm.
by gravity, that is an astronomical long shot that an object that big could get hooked into our gravitational field because the force is really technically weak by, cosmic scale. The fact that that an object that size got pulled into our gravity well and got into a perfect orbit, stayed there, it's astronomical odds, like astronomical odds. And then you start stacking up these coincidences, these weird things. It's like this: the width of the moon is 108 times. Let me put it this way: the width of the sun is 108 moons across. Like you could line up 108 moons.
Mhm.
That's the distance. The distance from the Earth to the moon, and then from the Earth to the sun, it's 108 times also. That's why you get a perfect eclipse, because the moon is 108 times smaller than the sun, and it's 108 times less in distance than
Just
to the
perfect
sun.
placement, all of it.
Perfect placement, perfect
Divine,
size.
divine fucking placement
Yeah.
in some sense. Like there's a higher calculus happening here, some crazy math.
Yeah, and you find someone who's properly educated on this. You listen to your Randall Carlson podcast
Mhm.
or a guy like that who can break down the mathematical miracles of the moon. It just doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. It blows your mind. It's like, how can you have so many wild coincidences that are so astronomically awesome? But it
Mhm.
is. But that's what we have. That's what our moon is. It's just this long sequence of fantastic long shots, and it makes it fascinating because when at one point are like, the fucking shit is rigged already. It's not like it's not a long shot. Like, hey, you're in Vegas and you hit the black or you hit the jackpot in your slot machine 3 times in a row. No, someone fucking fixed the thing to work that way.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I wanted to just the number 108 to hit me because that's how many beads are generally in a mala.
Uh-huh. And a rosary too.
And a rosary also is 108. And then I never thought of that. When you're doing you can use the mala and then like go to each bead and do some type of prayer or do something like that. And I never thought about you could do like the Gayatri, but also while you're doing the Gayatri, realize that each one that you're doing is a moon across the sun.
Oh, nice. Nice. That's a great that would be a fantastic meditation to think of your moon and sun while
Yeah.
going through those 108 beads.
I would only throw an asterisk on it that like just beware because you're then really mixing fire and fire, and that can do a lot. So just be careful. You know, that could be very powerful. If you were cold, it'd probably be a great thing to do. Like if you were those monks that need to be like getting warm, that's probably the fucking way to do it. It's like, oh, you think about the sun getting blocked out by the moon, but how immensely huge this fucking energy of heat and light, and then this little dot of the moon, and then next one, while you're chanting the Gayatri,
Mm.
boo, yeah, dude, fucking, you melt snow.
All right, well, let's you would melt snow. We've seen those Tibetan guys do that out in the cold. But let's take a quick moment for this week's public service announcement from your very two agents of Aquarius, Jim Pine and Matty D. The next full eclipse will be Friday, October 13th. It's going to be passing from kind of the Northwest US down to Texas. It'll pass through places like Albuquerque, New Mexico, cities in Texas, cities in Utah, on a track from the Northwest to the Southeast across that part of the country. So if you can travel, make sure you get yourself into the line of totality and experience live with your eyes protected a full solar eclipse Friday, October 13th.
I am now adding that to my calendar. It's a full moon, full solar eclipse.
It's a total solar eclipse in a stripe across the country from kind of a, somewhere along the Pacific Northwest going southeastward to Texas.
Yeah, just look at where you are. If you're in Belgium, hey, I don't know.
You're gonna miss this one, yeah.
Yeah, if you're in India, I'm not sure if you're gonna get it, but we don't mean to be so centralized in this and bore the people that are maybe they're in Antarctica, people that listen to this, and here I am just saying, just check your local meteorological reports and you can get better information. But there is that energy pounding upon Earth, a total solar eclipse, which is an amazing thing. That's where the moon goes behind the sun, blocking that feminine energy on an October Friday the 13th. Hello. That's like some Templar, old, Gnostic. That's some stuff right there, all wrapped into one, dude. If it was only a full moon, that would be fucking even crazier. But there you go. It's a good place to be, dude. It's a good place to be here on Earth. That's what we both can agree. Dude, I'll tell you what I have been seeing. This has been like this weird occurrence. I don't know if we talked about it last week. I don't think we did. I'm not. I am a religious person, and my religion is my own personal experience with divinity and creation. But it feels organic because it's intuitively not going, hey man, watch out. This seems like a lot of propaganda. Seeing a lot of like Christian and Jesus stuff happening where people are just like, for lack of better terms, and to categorize all these things that I'm seeing over, we'll say, the course of a year or 2 years now, finding God. It's like there's a lot of people finding God, and it's not just the way it used to be, because it used to be more about, people would study Hinduism and Buddhism because they're fed up with Western religions. And it seems like a lot of people finding like Christ or Christianity, and it doesn't seem to be a very born again sense. It seems to be this very parts of the Bible sense where they just are like, dude, this just speaks to me. And I don't even know I'm bringing it up, but
I'm curious where you're seeing it. Is it in media, or is it in life with people?
I'm seeing it in podcasts, which is a form of media. We'll say it's a form of entertainment and a form of media. I'm seeing on podcasts. I'm seeing it in real life. I've seen that, and not a lot of like born again, but more like, I'm not going to be ashamed that, this is my beliefs. In a time where people have, for especially Christians, have kind of been like attacked and
you don't have to sugarcoat that one. I mean,
it feels, and I'm not a Christian.
We've attacked Christianity quite a bit because of like the whole pedo priest thing and all kinds of rationales. It's easy to attack them. It's kind of fucked up to attack your regular old like going to church Christian dude. At least there's some part of them that wants to live a better life. But you mentioned Hinduism earlier. Is it people going and finding God through alternate means? Is it a Jesus thing? Like what are you seeing more of?
Okay. In my experience, and what I've been experiencing for decades, was been people leaving the Western religions, because I live here in the United States of America. I've lived on both coasts, and it seems like people have been leaving the Western religions to go experience these alternate, like Gnosticism, esoteric information, Gnostic information, Hinduism, Buddhism,
very big since
universal I forget what the Universal Universalists are called. Then you have like Scientology happening. You have these like people are trying these other things, right? And
Got
it
some
seems like
movies out there.
yeah. Oh, I mean, Hinduism. Then it's yeah. You have the Hare Krishnaism. It's like, but and I've done that, and I've seen other people, a lot of people doing that. But I just particularly see, especially in the last year, a lot of people are just like, nah, I'm like really down with the Bible, dude. I'm down with this part and this part. Like this really means a lot to me, and they're not pushing it on anybody, which usually is proselytizing, which is like
Proselytizing,
a
yeah.
lot of people born into the church will be that way. But these people are more like, no, 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 this is just what I found. I just found this. It's for me, and this really speaks to me. And I'm surprised almost by it, but this is what it is, and I dig it. You know, everything from like special operators, from CIA operatives, which is almost like, oh, you're finding
Those
God.
fucking guys better find some divinity in their life.
No, but I don't think they're as dark
That's
as you
arguably a
think.
pretty dark path.
Some, and I think it would be. I think most of the time it was probably stuff was done on the up and up in a certain sense of world building that we were doing, and it wasn't
Well,
always super
actually,
dark.
let's just clarify that real quick.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. The U.S. military is deployed for imperial reasons to dominate other cultures and steal their resources. We're never there to do anything nice for people. Now, we've talked about this before, like the operators themselves, maybe they had some kind of altruistic reason for joining the army and then going into the special forces and then the CIA. But the reasons are there are never altruistic. I know
well,
you know this, but you're speaking from your heart now, and I think there's something that should be clarified there.
yeah. I just believe there's a warrior mentality, and there's a place for warriors. And
That is true,
I
but
know bankers and capitalism's gotten in the way of that. I'm aware. So I'm not going to condemn people right now, because I'm not the person to do the judging. I guess that sounds very biblical, but it just seems like people from all these walks of life, where technology, where they were like so anti, and then it's like I'm kind of starting to. It's just what I'm seeing. It's not personally happening in my life, but it's just I'm seeing this like, and it's a weird trend. It's an interesting trend, and I just bring it up because I think
well,
that people are looking past the church, and it's
yeah.
about there is maybe information in there that's decoded that like is speaking, and there's some great passages and parts to it, so much you can learn. If you only had all 44 books to look at, you'd be in a much better place to really understand what they're telling you about, and you could look at the book of Enoch and read about
Mhm.
Nephilim and stuff, but they're not like straight up really talking about that all the time.
No, and I heard someone say that recently too. Like, you go to church and you talk about a certain acceptable range of topics to talk about, and you tend to not talk about Nephilim and magical shit and really like I believe people in churches tend to talk about more down to earth spirituality as opposed to this really wild shit that's in the Bible, because there's some weird shit in the Bible. Just in the Bible itself. Forget like those books that have been attributed to being part of early Christianity but aren't part of the current Bible.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of wild shit in there. And the joke was listening to these two podcasters. It was like, man, if they went in there and started talking about fucking aliens and Nephilim and all that stuff that's in the Bible, it's like you'd have a packed house. Instead, you got all these like sort of boring ass people just kind of like, oh yeah.
Dude.
But that was the joke they were making.
We need to get some books, lost books of the Bible, bro. And then I'm saying this in the funniest, yet also like, dude, like start a church, bro, but you teach this stuff. We're just
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yo,
yeah,
dude,
dude.
look at this part of the Bible, bro. Like, what? And it's like it's just a bunch of heads like there, like fucking getting down.
Dude, there's been a time where I was mighty high in love and life and start thinking that way, like uh um the spirituality that's really fun can be that really far out stuff. Like it's really fun to just embrace it and lean into it and think about it, because it's so far. I've never seen any um no fallen angels. That's just not part of everyday life. But when when you think about it, it's a very entertaining place to ponder.
Yeah, it's yeah, and you know, I bring up the part lightly about that because the more you learn about Christianity, it's like, oh, there's all these lost books. This was all kind of part of the original. This was the original information, and now they're using this other information that seems to be slightly corrupted, and like it's even has more codex to it, like more. You got to be some type of fucking like linguist, like high level fucking mathematician, linguist, and puzzle fucking figure outer. I don't know what they call it. I can't think, but like you got to be able to do all this, and then you might be able to see through the current stuff. Because there are very common things in there that are, where they're talking about astrology. It's like right in there where the different parts of the Bible. I mean, this is a huge topic that we're just like brushing through really quick. And there's so many podcasts out there, people that talk about all this information, but I'm mentioning it because sometimes it'll be jokingly, but I'll mention trends I'm seeing. And goes back for quite a while. This go back into the 90s, I would almost feel like, where I could see trends, and it's a weird, like, what does that trend mean? I'd be like, I don't know, but I could see it. And this is just one of those trends I just want to bring up, and I want to memorialize it by putting it on video and speak with you about it, where other people might see it, and then they could be like, this guy is loony, or this guy be like, oh, I kind of seen some stuff like that too happening. I don't know. Once again, not a Christian. Once again, haven't picked up a Bible in decades, except for moving my books off my shelf and then putting books back on when I dusted my shelf. So I don't want to be a liar. I have touched it, but that's just like moving books around. And I'm just literally bringing it up as like, I see this something happening, and it feels intuitive, the noticing of it, more than programming or narrative being directed upon from the people that have been directing narratives, or the groups that have been directing narratives thus far. Because it's very counter to it.
Well, if there's an organic coming to divinity, that's a great thing. We talk about on this show, we talk about the yugas and Hindu. I don't know if it's Hindu spirituality, mythology, or just mentality, but that Hindu belief of these yugas, that there are these ages where some ages are very dark and heavy and negative, like what we're in now, Kali Yuga. But we are in the process, according to the math and the calendars and the dates, we're in the process of leaving the Kali Yuga and heading for a much better age, to a Para Yuga, I believe it's called. And that's, for all we know, the difference between these two ages might be a golden age. And this thing of people coming back to a sense of spirituality, a sense of divinity, that's a great sign for our species. If more and more people embrace divinity and let go of capitalism and chasing money and not having this larger vision of what life is beyond this one life, that's a great step in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, it would be nice, right? That would be like, okay, that'd be nice, and yeah, I read a book by Swami, not Swami, it's not Paramahansa Yogananda, it was his teacher. He wrote that book. Yeah, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Paramahansa's teacher or guru, and his guru is Lahiri Mahasaya, but the book he wrote was about the yugas. It would talk about the ages and the times, and that we because it's when you get into these processional universal giant cycles of what seems to be some form of evolution, because you have to go from like bad, whatever bad means, like bad to good to bad to, like, you have to go through this to grow. Like you have to fail is to not try, that's the secret. Like, so Kali Yuga, it's like, why? And it's like, well, so you can grow. But you gotta, like, there's got to be struggle in this dimensional thing happening here that we're existing in this third, as we dictated, a third dimension. This is a switching of third dimensional energies when you go from the Kali Yuga, which we're actually out of the Kali Yuga, and we're in the middle zone. There's these gray zones that are between the yugas.
Transition zone.
Yeah, because they happen. I believe they happen over 26,000 years, approximately, these cycles. But then within each, see, there'll be like a Dwarapara Yuga, but then within the Dwarapara Yuga, there's 4 cycles of the Dwarapara Yuga, you know, and it goes through the cycles of that Yuga till it gets to the next 26,000. Then it does another Kali Dwarapara. I can't think of the 4 of them right now. And yeah. And then when you align that with like not the pun, but like the where the name of this podcast kind of comes from, this idea of the Age of Aquarius. So now you take 2 different formulations, 2 different processes, traditions of this like ancient like astrology matched with it's astrology and astronomy, and not astronomy, it's astrology, and then like the negative and positive polarities of things, of how that happens over long stretches of time. You know, you match them, and it seems interesting to have the agents, or to have the Age of Aquarius matching with the moment, and almost helping be a like a sister that comforts the energy of the yugas as it leaves Kali and moves from Mother Kali into Mother or to Dwarapara, which is a higher age. It's not the golden age, but it's a higher age.
It might seem like a golden age compared to this one.
Well, yeah, and Kali, Mother Kali, is like, she's the destroyer in Hinduism. She's the eater, you know. She has the necklace of heads, but it's not dark. This is just the part of the cycle of the way it is. Not the way it is to sound that way, but the way things are in this dimension.
Yeah. There was a really cool aspect of what you said about Swami Sri Yukteswar's book. God, that's a tangle for my tongue, New Jersey boy. He says in that book that he recalculated the math of aging those yugas, because it used to be, there was a perspective that the Kali Yuga lasted 432,000 years. And he's like, no, this is a mathematical error. There's something wrong here. The actual Yuga lasts 4,320 years. And you put it in that context, and it suddenly starts to line up with the astrological charts, with your, you know, Leo, Virgo, Libra, going through that cycle, because each one of those, the age of Pisces, which we're just exiting, those are roughly 2,160 years. There's what, 12 or 13 signs, 12 signs, 13 signs? 12 signs, 2,160 years. It's roughly like 2,000. It's roughly 26,000 years this cycle. And each age defined by one of these signs, like Pisces, like Aquarius, 2,160 years. That one cycle is tracking things on that mathematical equation. And then you have this thing of the yugas, where you've got the yugas have differences in their ages. The Kali Yuga is the shortest. How do you call it? Dwapara Yuga?
Dwarapara. DWARPAR.
Yeah, Dwarapara is a little longer. The next one is a little longer. Than the Golden Age is a little longer. But essentially, they're making up a similar time frame, because they're all tied into this idea of precession. And for those of you who know, bear with me. For those of you who don't, the Earth, as it rotates on its axis, the axis has a slight counter rotation.
Like a wobble.
It's a wobble, yeah. So instead of it being like a perfect spinning ball, the axis rotates and it counter rotates, and that, where that axis points to in the sky, is tracking a path, and that path takes 26,000 years to complete a full circle. So it's a way of tracking astrological time, and people have had it calculated all over the planet for thousands of years. This is really ancient, well-known knowledge, and of course we don't talk about it because there's something mystical, magical about it. But these systems are tied to that. They're tied to precession, and it's a fascinating world when you open up to the mysteries that are out there, instead of just taking the mystery and throwing it away because there's not some definitive answer. Embrace the mystery. There's beauty there. That's like those people who are embracing this divinity that they haven't done before, that you've been seeing in the last year or so. They don't know what it is because you can never put your finger on it. But what a great thing to do, though.
It's out in front of us right now, and it's a lot to take in because you could feel the battle. If you're listening to this, you could feel the battle that's happening between good and evil. It almost feels like you can feel this like weird, like, wow, that's that's a weird tribe, man. And the darkness that's within on some of these levels that's in this three-dimensional world of Earth that we live in. It's like there's some wild fucking people that are doing some super dark and treacherous shit in the name of like safety and security. And we're here, we're talking about it all, and it's never like when we sound the alarm, it's never like this is it. We're in it. We're in the ages of changing. You've made it this far. You can make it. You just keep going because it's only going to get better. Yeah, shit's going to look ugly at times. The more you hold your authority, the more you're in charge of your life, the better you're going to be. You're not going to be in such a state of fright and fear that can just have narratives placed on you. Instead, you can be a place where you can start looking at these bigger things. What we were just talking about now, these time ages from Hinduism, which is tied in with Jyotish astrology, and that's about the yugas, these ages. And it's not just about the age of like some golden age. It's like, no, you got to go through the darkness so the society can learn from its past, if it's allowed to learn. The problem right now, we're not learning from our past because our past is being hidden. So we're learning from a like contrived past. Therefore, you can't learn because you're not learning from
Kali
past.
Yuga.
Yeah, very Kali, very, very dark, very it's a place of decay. It's a place of dis-ease, but it's part of it. This is part of the cycle. This is part of creation understanding itself. This is the way it is.
But if you do your spiritual practice in this age, then kudos to you because this is the hardest time to do it.
Yeah.
There's merit to doing a spiritual practice in the age we're in. In the golden age, I'm sure it's a piece of cake, but not in this age. So, friends, do your meditations.
Yeah,
Be
whatever
nice to
they are.
people.
Yeah. Yes. Do it. Prayer, meditation, positive thought. Right now it's not a time to proselytize. It's not a time to sound the alarms. It's a time to really make sure you got the things on your shelves you need. Winter's coming, and that's just because winter is coming. They're on October 13th. We're at this time of year. It's like, know that this isn't time to plant seeds.
Oh, hey, you know what?
Time to harvest.
Hold on. It's Saturday the 14th is the eclipse.
Oh, okay.
Saturday the 14th, which is way worse. If you ever saw the movie Saturday the 14th from the 80s, you know what I'm talking about.
Matt fucked this up.
Way worse than Friday the 13th, but I did fuck it up. Yeah, it is. It is Saturday the 14th. I think totality is something like it's in the late morning.
Okay.
In the late morning. It's probably different depending on your time zone.
Just once again, I said it earlier. Look it up in your local spot.
Look it up in your local spot, people. Don't trust us. We smoke a lot of weed around here.
Different hemispheres see different things. Fuck, dude. Where were we just at?
The world is a crazy place, brother.
Oh, it's Maya, first of all. It's a layered illusion. The Hindus called it illusion. Nowadays, people will be like, oh, it's a simulation. It's like, yeah, that's Maya. That's the illusion. The illusion of this is the simulation.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the illusion.
Maya and Matrix are same, aren't they?
I don't know that specifically, but they sound very similar.
Technological sense, but
yeah, but they sound very similar. The Matrix is an illusion, and Maya is an illusion, and it's when you can learn to perceive outside the illusion that you're in an illusion. Now you learn to control the illusion. You can learn the laws of manifestation. You can learn the laws, which are good and bad. There's no like, oh, this, you can manifest fucking demons and ghosts and horrible shit. And you can manifest abundance of other things as well. It's a law. We have an abundant world and you get to create it. And if you're in hell, no, maybe take a look, man, because there might be something you're doing or something's happened and you're repeating in your life. That's kind of, you're putting yourself in this self-perceived hell while in this Maya, this illusional world, this matrix, you know, take a look.
I like it, Jim Pine.
Take off.
Gonna ask you a favor now. Let's break it up. Let's break it up again. Let's break the news.
Well, break the news. By breaking the news today, instead of me picking this up, we were talking before we came on. And you was like, you held up a list. I'm like, what's that? You're like, oh, it's a list of this will be break the news. This week, this is break the news is Matt's list that he's been making of. I'm gonna let you take over.
The list of conspiracies that came true, because the joke now is it's not a conspiracy theory, it's just a spoiler alert, and it keeps proving itself to be true again and again. And to help my aging memory, I went ahead and made myself a list on my phone of conspiracies that came true, and some of it is some of it's pretty obvious, some of it's pretty vague, some of it is pretty controversial, and some of it gets the giant yawn. But I'll tell you what, let me go down the list. Agent Pine, I want you to stop me when you get a topic that piques your interest, and we're going to talk about it. So instead of reading off news stories, what's going on today, let's go ahead and read the list.
Okay, so I want to preface this. Hold on. I'm going to preface this. We got to build this up, Matt. You can't just give them.
Let's build it up.
This is free. They're getting this for free right now. We can't just give them lists for free. So you said something that piques my interest.
Yeah.
I don't know the list. You have not discussed any of these things with me just before we started about this list. So I don't know any of the items specifically. I could guess almost all of them, but because I've been friends with you for decades, but I'm going to say the ones that pique my interest because I know everything you're about to say is of interest to me. But
okay.
I'm going to reserve for piqued interest what I am first. Let's go. I hope I can make it to 2.
No, you can let the first couple go because they're very publicly out there.
Hey, I'm peaked. I'm in. That's it. Stop there.
Just put on these reading spectacles. All right, conspiracies that came true. We, the American people, got lied to, we, the American people, got lied into every war since at least Vietnam. Vietnam was the Gulf of Tonkin. I'm not going to even talk about it. Fuck it. Because seriously, we got lied into every war since at least Vietnam. That was a conspiracy that came true. Here's another one.
I want to do an addendum.
An addendum? Go.
The funny thing is all those things that we were lied into, since we are just saying Vietnam, which is actually Korea, that's we've been lied into all of these, and none of them actually have been, by definition of Black's Law, war, because they were not okay by Congress.
Yeah, correct. That's true.
The funny thing is we call these wars, we accept them as wars, we spend like they're fucking wars, and none of them have been but like the way our government's supposed to operate as a war. Instead, these have been these private militia things that have happened using our military. Number 2. No, go ahead.
Number 2. UFOs are not real. We know that one got turned over. That's the giant yawn our society has provided to that fucking fascinating information. Moving on, number 3.
Addendum.
Government spying on U.S. citizens.
I want to addendum.
I could talk about this.
I have to addendum
to the second one. Okay, UFOs.
UFOs
are not real. That was the conspiracy.
Yes.
Or no, that was what we're told. The conspiracy was UFOs. Whatever. Go ahead.
And now they tell us they've changed the letters, the UAPs, and these other letters of things. And they say they're real, and we blah 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 blah. And it's like fuck. Now that they're saying it's real, I'm not sure if they're real.
No, that sounds like some lawyer bullshit. You change the word around to get a different meaning. It's like, oh, we said UFOs are fake, but UAPs, oh, we knew those are real all along.
Yes, and here was the addendum I really wanted. Didn't you think it was going to be a bigger deal when they did it? Like back in the day, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, if we would have been like, okay, so they're gonna tell us at some point, the CIA is actually going to say it, and that's going to fucking change everything. And people aren't
Yeah.
even paying attention. That's how
This is
fucking
this
crazy
is
we are.
this
right
is
now.
my joke. It's like they tell us UFOs are real for the fucking Pentagon. They show us video footage from the fucking F-16, and everyone's like, whatever. It's like, how is it whatever? But I guess the truth is only a fringe of the society gave a shit in the first place. You,
Literally
me,
nailed it. That's it.
you
It's
others.
only a
What the?
certain percentage cared or gave a shit to begin with.
Mhm.
And now those people are even like, huh? Because we're not like, oh my God, God's here. Lord is here. No, no. I'm like, why are you telling me? I don't trust you.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm sorry. These things are too
No,
big for me to just
I
not make
know
a comment.
everyone. You gotta. It's like, how do you not talk about it? But I'm gonna
Keep
start
going.
like tracking with numbers because I'm gonna lose track in this list. But yeah, UFOs are fake. That was the conspiracy. Another one, the government spying on U.S. citizens. Thank you, Edward Snowden. Good job. MK Ultra, thank you, Church Committee, 1975. That was exposed as the government using drugs and mind control to brainwash the citizens of the United States.
That was two different things he said, everybody, right there. The first one was that our intelligence agencies are spying on us. And there's been said in Congress and in Senate, they've been like, oh yeah, we have. We lied. We definitely have because of Snowden.
Yeah. No one got
The
punished. That's the
one
Snowden.
second one was that there's an intelligence operation, there's an operation by our intelligence agencies in coordination with our military and media and more that's called MK Ultra, Project MK Ultra, which has, I believe, hundreds of then parts under that are different MK Ultra operations that have happened. The best that we know, only because the CIA was started then, is the late 40s, 50s. That's when this MK Ultra started, and now we're at a process where people fight for men to compete with women because that's how good the fucking programming is. Keep going.
Yeah. Now, maybe I was wrong to
That was
say
two.
Operation. Maybe I was wrong to say MK Ultra was revealed during the Church Committee in 1975. I'm not going to stand by that one, but I will stand by this. Operation Mockingbird was a conspiracy that turned out to be true. That was the CIA had operatives working for U.S. newspapers or paid assets who are working for U.S. media, and they planted stories in that media to affect American opinion about the world. That whole thing about narrative management, Operation Mockingbird, that was a conspiracy, turned out to be true. Here's another one.
Refresh my mind real quick. Does that also include Hollywood, meaning music, and what is that the same operation, or
Yeah,
was that a
just
different?
watch Red Dawn. Yeah.
Is that a different operation where they then infiltrated along with media Hollywood? I'm just trying to remember.
It might actually be a different op because I'm not 100% sure.
I think it's part of Mockingbird because it was about taking total control of the information.
Yeah. I know that Mockingbird 100% had to do with U.S. media and the Central Intelligence Agency planting stories for the effective narrative management to get the people of this country to think the way they wanted them to. Here's another one. The CIA started the crack epidemic to fund the Sandinistas. That's the Iran-Contra scandal. That's Gary Webb, who broke the story with the Mercury Sun Times or Mercury Sun Tribune, whatever that paper was. The same guy who committed suicide by shooting himself in the head twice. CIA brought drugs into this country. That's a conspiracy that came true. Here's another one. Oh,
did Gary Webb have an interesting phone number in his pocket? Is that the right guy?
I don't remember what Gary Webb had in his pocket. I know
was he the pilot? Oh, he's not. I'm thinking the pilot. I forgot it.
Oh, that's Barry Seal.
I'm thinking Barry Seal. It was like George Bush's or Bill Clinton's personal number in his pocket, like written on a paper in his pocket.
I think that was Barry Seal. Yeah,
okay.
That was Barry Seal.
He flew those drugs. Keep going.
Yeah. All right. Here's a bunch of COVID stuff. Here's a bunch of internet censorship stuff. Here's some January 6th stuff.
I'll go there. It's very controversial. I'll go there.
Which one?
Wait, you know what? They're both controversial. I feel like I really have to stop on Cupid, but I don't even care. That's like literally That's a Patreon episode right now. That would be like, now we have to then say, all right, guys, you want to see more of this list? It's going to be behind a paywall, and we'll talk about Cupid, and we'll talk about J6, because the powers that be hate fucking when people talk about this shit.
You find something that won't get
That's going to
flagged.
be that. We'll talk about that behind a paywall, and
All right.
that's going to probably start next week, everybody. So keep an eye out for that the next week or two.
All right, here's one. Your phone listens to you and sends targeted ads based on the conversations you had. You've all known if you were looking to buy a car and you go home and you talk to your roommates, your spouse, or whoever about like what car you want to buy, all of a sudden, Toyota ads start showing up in your feed because the phone is listening to you. That's a real one.
Dude, that's crazy AI listening, because that's surveillance tied with AI, artificial intelligence, that somehow takes that surveillance, knows how to process the words it's hearing, and then use that information to then redirect information back at you in a subvertive way to then target you into what you maybe were just talking about. That's just one way to use this AI.
Yeah. Hey, here's what maybe I'll ask you to talk about because it just kind of broke into the news not too long ago. Talk to me about the Nazis in Ukraine. Can we talk about them? Are we allowed to do that without a paywall or without getting banned?
I mean, we'll just dance around it and then put it all behind paywalls. But I don't know a ton about it, dude, to be honest with you. I do know that, I mean, we probably covered this before. I mean, quick story. Everybody starts flying flags of Ukraine. Sometime last year in, I think it was in the spring of 2022, it kind of escalates, I believe. And then into this year where it fully escalates and we start funding a military operation of a government next to Russia, which goes against the Minsk Accord that was created in 2013 so that we could let Russia feel a little bit safe and wouldn't attack their borders. And then we've broken the Minsk Accord since then, but are doing it more so that this military industrial complex can just feed its fucking bottomless pit stomach that just loves fucking a buffet of military sales. And that's what Ukraine seems to be. It's also one of the highest child trafficking and human trafficking areas in the world. It also has funded biolabs by the United States and United States organizations tied to the United States, like the NIH. It's Ukraine also used to be called Khazar, and that's where the Khazarians lived. And I think we didn't talk about it on this podcast, but we were speaking about it earlier. So it's this ancient land, and this is also a place that is like extremely racist to like non-white whites. In what the way racists would talk about it, because this was something we did like when years ago. There's footage of us talking about this, but like not here, but about if you looked up was the Peace Corps?
Peace Corps, yeah.
Okay, you looked on the Peace Corps and you went to their website and you saw if you wanted to go to Ukraine and be a volunteer, that you better get, if you are not white, you better, and if you are, you better get used to hearing extreme like racist language towards black people and Jewish people. It wasn't like, but it was, that one was directed just towards African Americans or Africans to get used to hearing the N-word. It said that verbatim in there. They didn't write the word.
And
they said N-word.
Would wear blackface.
Yes. Yeah. You're going back in time on this shit. And on top of that, we now have, instead of just that in the Peace Corps, you also have outwardly, and they just try to scrub the fucking internet of it, and the news tries to never let it out, but they fuck up, is these battalions that are Ukrainian battalions, like the Azov battalion, and then there's another one also that
the
are
right front.
Yeah, this is where the Nazis, we let them, like, they secretly went to Argentina, but there's some we let go to Ukraine, and they went there and they started
You
doing
mean
the
post
same
World
shit.
War II?
Post World War II, yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, thank you. You fill in more. I just threw a bunch of stuff about what Ukraine. That's
no,
Ukraine.
It's a bunch of great stuff. But I remember right when this war broke out in Ukraine, I had people talking their opinions to me about this war. And then, of course, I would say mine back. And I just remember someone kind of like condescending, like, oh, what, the Russians got to denazify Ukraine? And I remember saying to this person, it's like, dude, from 2014 to like 2017, 18, all the big newspapers talked about the Ukrainian Nazi problem. It was the Times, the Washington Post, the Guardian. It was like one big newspaper after another. And it was always the Nazi problem in Ukraine, the Nazi problem in Ukraine, and also talk about all the corruption. If you talk to anyone actually who was from Ukraine, like I was lucky enough to know someone, haven't spoken to her in a while, but I spoke to her for the first year of that war for sure. But when I spoke to her about Ukraine, it was always, it's so corrupt. It's so corrupt. I want my kids to leave that country and come live here, but they can't afford the bribes to get out of the country. All I don't know how accurate it was, her opinion, but it was someone's opinion that knew more than I did. But my thing was, I remember the newspaper reports about Nazis in Ukraine. I remember from before the build up to the war. I remember from before the war started, it was always Nazis in Ukraine. And then you start to follow people who, during the war, when the propaganda was all Ukraine's fighting that evil Russia, these, brave freedom fighters, which credit, I mean, they are, these people marched into a war and they're getting blown to smithereens. But it's one thing after another. There's a cover of Newsweek magazine of, I think, a blown out vehicle, and the Ukrainian guy's reaching into the vehicle to grab something, and on his left bicep is a swastika on the cover of Newsweek. There's so many Nazis in Ukraine that even Newsweek couldn't get a picture without a Nazi in it. I remember seeing Ukrainian armored vehicles driving down the street, and a teenage boy standing on top of a vehicle, sig heiling them with a Nazi salute. My absolute favorite is Jon Stewart, once upon a time a fantastic political commentary guy.
He got pictures shown to him, and then that fucking ended. Keep going.
Oh, it ended real quick. He did a great joke about the Hershey chocolate factory, and a Hershey or a chocolate pandemic spreads around the world and started at the Hershey chocolate factory. But that's another story.
It didn't
Jon
start
Stewart,
at the Hershey factory. It started down the street at a farmer's market.
Yeah, it was a great joke. It was a great joke on the Colbert Show. And Colbert embarrassed himself trying to push back against it. But Jon Stewart was part of one of the most outrageous things that just ever happened. It was military games, like physical fitness contests or something like that, being held at Disneyland, sponsored by the Pentagon. And Jon Stewart himself awarded a medal to a Ukrainian soldier who had been wounded in war. And the same guy was photographed in his hospital bed with a black sun tattoo on his elbow, a well-known Nazi symbol tattooed on his arm. Like, holding he has his tattoo of his Nazi ideology proud and displayed. And then when he's receiving the medal from Jon Stewart, he's wearing, I'm pretty sure, like a white t-shirt, but he has a red sleeve covering his black sun tattoo. And there's Jon Stewart, sponsored by the Pentagon at Disneyland, giving this Nazi a medal. So there's just one thing after another. These Nazis in Ukraine, I believe, if I heard it correctly, they make up about 10 or 11% of the voting bloc. So they're not the dominant party, but they're also extreme people. They're violent people. These are the people that after the 2014 Maidan coup were left with the task of suppressing the people in the Donbass. The people in the Donbass voted. Once the 2014 Maidan coup happened, the people in eastern Ukraine, what's called the Donbass, where the Russian-speaking people live who identify as Russians, they all voted in a referendum to separate from Ukraine and join Russia. And the government of Ukraine is like, nope, not going to happen. But what we're going to do is use force to get you back in line. And they basically unleashed the Azov Battalion, the Right Front, these extreme right neo-Nazi paramilitary organizations to spearhead the attack on the people in the Donbass. And since 2014, right up until the start of that war in 2021 or 22, when did the war start?
20 it started light in 2022. That was in that spring, I believe. That's what I said when I believe it started around that spring when everybody started putting all the flags out. All of a sudden, just one day, it was like Ukraine flags everywhere.
Yeah, so between the Maidan coup in 2014 to when that war started, Ukraine attacked its own citizens and shelled its own citizens. Remember the hateful crime that Assad in Syria did? They attacked his own people. They did that to their people and killed somewhere in the neighborhood of like, I think the people died in the conflict of something like 12 or 14,000. And the majority of it was Russian-speaking people in the Donbass. The majority of the people to the neighborhood of like, 90% of the casualties of people who died were on the Russian side because the Ukrainian government was attacking its own citizens because they wanted to secede from the nation, and they used Nazi battalions to do it. These same Nazis in the city of Odessa trapped a bunch of people in a building and set the building on fire and filmed it with their phones, and something along the lines of 50-some people burned to death inside that building, and the ones who tried to get out, they shot them as they exited.
When was this about? And is this, I remember this. It was in a theater, right? Wasn't it a theater?
A church, a government building, I don't remember.
Well, they made it sound like it was a terrorist attack in the news back then.
It was a fucking Azov battalion.
And it was an Azov battalion that went and just fucking nuked the Russian neighborhood within the Donbass region because they weren't bending the knee to then want to be part of this new, because there was an overthrow of the government that we supported and funded, right? Correct? And
yeah, absolutely.
Then, Jesus Christ. I mean, it's this.
Here's the, go ahead and finish your thought. I'm sorry.
They call everybody a Nazi in this country. They throw the word Nazi around, so it means fucking nothing. And then when there's real Nazis, then the people that scream Nazi aren't even the ones saying it. It's the other people.
No. Yeah. No, the people in this country, when they say they're okay with censorship, you'll get something along the lines of, I don't want to give a platform to Nazis. And it's like, all right, we've talked about this before on this show, I think. Give a platform to Nazis because they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. Once you profess that ideology, the larger population who believe in just like regular human values, they're not going to accept it. They're going to reject you. So you're going to out yourself and you're going to be rejected. So yeah, have a voice.
That's a natural thing.
What the censorship people do is they say, yeah, censor those voices I don't agree with because they're Nazis, when most likely they're not. But then there's this uneducated perspective about the Ukraine war, where they've been told, no, that Nazi thing in Ukraine, that's not real. But it is. It's well documented. It's been there forever. Stefan Bandera was the Ukrainian Nazi for the Second World War, who formed up divisions of Ukrainian soldiers who fought for the Nazis, and they committed atrocities against the Polish people. They rounded up and murdered Polish people in at least the tens of thousands. I'm afraid to say it's probably more like six-figure numbers. But this country has a really rich Nazi heritage. It's been ongoing forever. The Banderites, I believe, as they're referred to, the people who look back on Stefan Bandera, who died a couple decades ago or 10 years ago. These are really bad people, and their ideology is really, really bad. And it's all there for anyone who wants to look for it. But you still get people who on one hand will say, I don't want to give a platform to Nazis, so censor, but at the same time, they support the Ukraine war, and they support the Nazis, and they support Nazis who are fighting against the very ally in World War II that defeated Germany and the actual Nazis. Now, I know there's a huge beef between the U.S. and Russia because of the Cold War, the Soviet Union. There was a long and hard history, but Russia today is clearly not the Soviet Union of our generation when we were living under the threat of nuclear destruction. But yeah, it's a joke. It's such a joke. It's such an uneducated opinion to think that that there are not Nazis in Ukraine. That's just bonkers.
Well,
Yes, I know. I had 10 seconds to speak my piece, and I did, and now we're in the aftermath of it.
no, the thing is, we're not in the aftermath of you being a Nazi, thank God. We're in the aftermath of just like this extreme, hateful, racist groups that are very low vibrational. It's just a lot of hate. It's sad to see that MK Ultra, but it was pre MK Ultra, but it's like to see that same programming, them work on people to become racist, or something along those lines. Because if they keep us divided, then we're in a good spot. And
For them, yeah.
Yeah, and if they start crazy organizations like this that are just hate-filled organizations where it's all about separation, and I mean, I believe in freedom, and I believe in the freedom of speech, and I believe the same as you, the cure to hate speech is just better speech. It's not, or information or knowledge possibly, or that's it. Like you don't. It's a wild fucking world of Maya we live in to think that people would be like that, but they are, and let's not create more hate towards them. Like you don't battle their hate with hate. You don't battle their hate with character assassination. You don't battle. You just let it phase himself out, just like you said.
Shine the light on it, man.
Yeah, it's
Honestly, shine a
fine.
light on, like, let the Nazis say their piece and shine a light on them while they're doing it, and then it'll sort itself out.
They shine a light on themselves. That's the thing, because they're coming out with these dark ideas. They come out into the light if you're gonna be out with it, and then when you are, it's like people are like, oh, gross. Or hopefully,
this makes sense in a Kali Yuga kind of perspective, but it also makes sense in a changing Yuga perspective that you have seen people coming into divinity in kind of an organic way, not being led to it. Of course, in the Kali Yuga, there's war and Nazis. And of course, as we transition into the next Yuga, a brighter age, there'll be people who are embracing divinity. And of course, once we're actually in another age, a step up from the darkness of the Kali, then a lot of this stuff can simply fall by the wayside.
Yeah, it becomes unneeded. I don't know if it's some of it's propped up or given power just to create problems. I don't know. I don't know all of that. I know it's present in the world, and I've talked to people like that, and I'm like blown away. And then like, all right, I think they're best just left alone. Like, they start being violent, and yeah, that all needs to be stopped. But like, it's a very dangerous world to stop thought, and stop people that are just maybe in a bad place. And I don't know why they'd think like that, but don't.
And
they're hurting. Believe me, they're fucking hurting. Okay,
there you go.
They have pain and they hurt inside. That's why they do it. That's why most people act out in ways like that, is because they're hurting. And then when we're unbalanced and we're hurting, we'll act out in bad ways. We'll act out very negatively, be very hurtful also. It's a law of attraction, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So once again, they're best handled with love. It doesn't mean acceptance. It's just love. Like, listen, man, life's hard. That's some crazy shit you think.
Yeah.
I don't love that you
think
it. Yeah, I don't love that you think those horrible things, but I wish them well, and I wish them a movement from darkness, or from ignorance. That would be, but I also have to respect their path, and they might just be playing their part.
Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and clarify. I don't want to lock people up for their thoughts or their beliefs, because there's this thing about radical freedom that you and I have talked about before. If you want to embrace those ideologies, I'm not going to tell you to stop, because it's your business to lead your life the way you are. If you choose to act out and, commit violence against people, then that's when I want to act out and let the law settle things. But in general, what you're saying is, I think what you're saying is, yeah, go ahead and do your thing. Don't hurt anybody. If you do, sure, there's going to be consequences, but I'm not going to be the one to tell people how to think.
Yeah, that's literally, well, telling them how to think is that's just the very not it's not a wise choice. You this is also hard because like in person, like I walk, I'm not walking around like a goddamn flower, I mean, I'd like to, but it's not that easy all the time. But I'm very focused on where we're at, what's going on. Try to remember this is an illusion that I have here to experience. So it's not like just throw it away. It's like, no, this is way more powerful than you even think. And to not get caught up on trying to banish hate, but to rather just produce a frequency that maybe I can affect it a little bit when it comes near me, or I can affect it. I'm sorry, that I can affect it when it comes within range of me. And then maybe it changes a little bit, or it is repelled by my frequency and my vibration. And then at least it's not it's not all around me all the time. While I'm here in this Maya and this illusion, because freedom is very important, dude. Free will and liberty, it's very important to allow people to learn how to grow. You can teach people if they want to learn.
Yeah.
Teaching people
to suppress people and you're just plug it in a pressure cooker though.
Mm-hmm.
You try to suppress people and censor people. You're just asking to magnify the problem. Whereas if you could catch the people who are willing to learn, you could teach them. If you give people a little space to grow, they could teach themselves. And yeah, there's a lot of ways to go about doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, you have to banish some people, but it just really comes to me. This is just really coming through. It's literally the way to deal with it is listen, let people grow out of their phases to freedom, and they're here for their experience. It doesn't mean you can't help them. It doesn't mean that you can't be a guide or an example.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important to allow people to have this experience and to learn how to grow through their own process of growth and how they take this all in. Asterisk caveat, you don't get to fuck with anybody else in the real world. Like, you don't get to, physical violence, crazy assault, get rid of all the natural
live your
law.
Freedom.
Yeah, within natural law.
Anyone, don't steal anyone's shit.
Yeah, within natural law. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to be guided towards, because then you don't really need a government, because people govern them individually themselves, and then you just become a collectives and a bunch of different collectives that move around and operate somehow. Mm-hmm. And like, we know the difference between right and wrong, unless you literally have a psychological disorder.
Yeah, and those people are few and far between. That is by far the minority. And everyone knows right from wrong for the most part, except those very few.
Yes, all meaning through natural law, right and wrong. And that I truly believe a lot of people could also be changed, and not through any type of pills, potions, or lotions, but there's literally through they're probably so close to being the most incredible manifestors, because they just are manifestors in positive ways and balance in their life, that they just are manifesting disease in their life, which then can turn into somebody that's like a serial killer or a megalomaniac that goes into like government and high levels of power, so they can feel this power of being a world changer or something crazy like that. And those people oust themselves,
They out themselves. That's why I don't want to censor them. It's like, give them a voice, let them out themselves, and then let the market sort it out.
Yeah, dude. Yes.
Yep.
Let them grow through it. We all got to grow through it, bro. We all have to
Yeah.
grow through it, bro.
Yeah, it's
It-
that redemption arc that you got to remind yourself of. It's like you have a bad person, and they are. And I guess maybe it's a better question than a statement. Do you believe in a redemption arc that someone can turn it around and be better?
well, dude, that's a slippery slope because that's how you end up with pedophiles around children again.
Ah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
yes,
you know, it's not really a,
I believe in it, but I think we
but
live
not
in
as a guarantee though, right? It's
no.
no guarantee. It's like people do it, people do the redemption arc, but other people start it and then
I think
fall back on
redemption's
their evil
important.
ways.
I think redemption's important. I think natural law dictates that redemption, and then you do probably need a group of peers to then sometimes even look at it because it'll get so complicated. As a council, we'll say, would be looking at it all with
Hmm.
natural law and kind of almost based off of our Constitution, Bill of Rights, and things like that. I believe in redemption. I just know that there's certain at this current time in this toxic environment. There's people that are predicated to be a certain way, and I don't know how much they can change. I know change is available to everyone. I think every single soul, everybody that's here alive, truly alive on this planet, living, breathing, has a soul, which means they have a piece, a spark of creation in them, more than
Mhm.
just a physical body, and that alone can be the seed that could give them the redemption to walk a path. But it's like a lot of it's to yourself. Like you have to act as if nobody's as you're being watched, but nobody's watching, dude. Like, but you got to do the right thing, and that's the path to redemption. This is why we don't kill hate speech. It's like they're proving themselves. I mean, the probably one of the greatest examples because we literally pick on Nazis because we just choose that one. It's the Westboro Baptist Church. It's awful what they're
Yeah, yeah, those guys who would show up at military funerals and
awful.
condemn gays and all that. Yeah.
It's awful, but those guys died. Those military men literally died so those people could actually do that. And that's the way it is. And you just don't combat them, but you combat them by, cool bike gangs and shit like that. Cool groups will show up and
Yeah,
take
yeah,
care of it.
different speech
Yeah, yeah,
to
different
counter their
speech.
hate speech. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's a good one.
yeah, this
Yeah,
is
that's
where we're
that's
at. Just fucking, we gotta love each other more, love ourselves even more, because then you can love each other more. Let people have to grow. I have to remember that more and more. I'm not fucking Johnny Appleseed over here, so yeah, we can grow through it. That's what I keep
yeah.
saying. Grow
No,
through it.
lean into the age of Aquarius, be the change you want to be. You've all heard that before.
Yeah.
But
Why we're here. Like, why are we doing
yeah.
this? We're doing this because we would just be doing this and nobody else would hear our messages, that we would just be saying all this to each other anyway. That's why this is how this would literally, everybody out there listening, this would happen even if we weren't doing it, putting it out for other people to listen. We would be doing all of this anyway.
Yeah, he's saying me and H and Pine here, we'll be having this conversation because the reality is we've had this conversation for years before we ever started recording it. This conversation happens, this unraveling of our world and our society and the energies of this transition into the age of Aquarius. This is what we're doing. It's just a little more out there now.
Why we're here. If you like this, we'll be back. Keep listening. Please this is the craziest shit you hear on every podcast, but literally we need people to let us know that they're into it. So please like the videos, to subscribe to the videos, to spread the word about it. On Spotify, if you like this, can you give us a good rating? It doesn't cost anything, but it really helps us know and show that there are people out there that are actually listening. And I mean, we're here anyway, but that's one way for us to communicate. If you don't reach out to us through like Instagram, Agents of Aquarius, or even comment on videos, man, we're here. And I love you, brother. Thank you for being there. Thank you for being my brother. And fucking here we are on planet Earth.
Thank you, Jimmy. Love you too. Be well.